some sort of channel today?
We are now live on YouTube.
On YouTube, okay. So again, thanks for joining today, folks. I'll just review some of the Zoom rules that we've been following here at the City of Brantford. I'll remind you that we're operating under City of Brantford rules, which gives each member a 4-minute speaking opportunity ×2 on each item, and the chair will do his best to make sure everybody gets an opportunity to contribute. Keep your microphones turned off unless you are actually speaking. That way we won't get feedback and there won't be any embarrassment to any of us. Keep your cameras turned on as best you can. If they go off, we'll try and track you somehow. Our staff members will contribute and whenever a question is asked. And if you're able to, if you've got that technology, to signal a desire to speak, if you wouldn't mind clicking on the raise hand icon, which will bring up the little yellow hand in the top corner of the screen, and the chair will be able to try and keep track of that for you, okay? We adjourn after 15 minutes if something goes wrong and we can't get quorum back. And we're just going to vote with the show of physical hands rather than try to do that electronically, okay? Is there anybody, before we get started, anybody have a conflict of interest? I'll presume none. I don't see any hands up. We don't have any presentations. We don't have any delegations today. Let me ask if I can get a mover and a seconder for everything we're going to consider on the agenda today. Moved by Councillor Vanderstelt, seconded by, did I see Dave Prang's hand go up? There it goes. Thanks, guys. So we've got just a couple of items, and we're going to go through all the items today. I'm not going to ask for separations. We're going to deal first of all with item 5.1, which is the working group's monthly report. Is there a member of staff that wants to take a couple of minutes to give an overview of this?
Thank you. Through the chair, I'll give a quick overview, and then if the leads for each of the working group would like to speak, that we'll welcome that as well. So we've pulled together a report, really a cover report, just to give an overview of the work that's being done by the 3 working groups under the direction of this task force. And we've provided a template memo with some of the activities and challenges and future asks. We don't have any, I don't think, today from each of the working groups as the format that we'll be using moving forward, if agreeable by this task force. So the working groups have met. The community program group has met a couple, 2 or 3 times actually, and are well on their way of achieving some of the goals that they've set. And to bring things forward to the task force. The ECDAV and community programming have met also, and a couple of times, and I think they have a next meeting on Monday. And the safety and security group has met once. A small group has met, and then the broader group has met once last week as well. So we continue to work through that, and we'll continue to bring updates and recommendations to this task force for guidance. So if you'd like us to talk about each of the work on each of the working groups, happy to do that. And I'll just ask each of the leads to do that. So if Aaron or Kevin wants to maybe take the ECDAV one and provide an update, that would be great.
Let's go ahead and do that.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me, Councillor Hartley? Hi, through the chair. Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
Oh, thank you, Councillor McCurry, and through you as the chair. Just very briefly, I wanted to check in and see if Councillor Hartley, as the chair of our working group, wanted to give the update. But I'll speak to it, and if he wants to chime in, I can help answer any questions. So very briefly, the Economic Development, Tourism, and Community Programs group has met. One of our action items within that working group is to create a consolidated inventory of community initiatives, either by the municipality or by the community at large, that would support economic development and tourism in the downtown. So we continue to pull that inventory together. And the goal there is twofold. One is there may be things happening in other communities or ideas that people have that haven't yet been implemented. It could be added to that general approach. But I think in our working group discussion, there was a lot of interest in, there's been a lot of work happening either through the Mayor's Economic Recovery Task Force, through the BIA strategic plan. A lot of this work has been consolidated to this point, and maybe it is an approach to pick 3 or 5 very high priority initiatives or ideas and putting them back to this task force for prioritization. So we continue to build that inventory with those 2 goals in mind, either seeing what the gaps may be or looking at no gaps, but to prioritize things that are already on the list. Another thing I'll note with that working group is that, as Marlene mentioned on Monday, there will be a facilitated session with our communications department just to pull out some of those ideas and some of those approaches. And of course, there is town hall meetings on Tuesday. So when we reconvene as a working group on Thursday, on the 21st, we'll be informed not just by this inventory we're building, some of the input from the public, and also this facilitated session. We'll pull that information together, and we're hoping towards our meeting in November, we'll have landed on a decision around what the priorities are we want to bring back to this task force. So that's where our status is at. But again, Councillor Utley as our chair, or Kevin, if you want to chime in and supplement that, I'll pause here.
John, did you want to jump in? You've got your hand up, I see.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, Aaron. Great job as always, and appreciate you taking the lead very much with the day-to-day activities for our team. I think we're moving ahead in a positive way and an objective way, and I think we're starting to see the beginnings of 1, 2, maybe 3 items that we plan on recommending after we've gone through our public input sessions. So I'll leave it at that. And Kevin, if you have anything to add, or anybody on our team, please do raise your hand. I see Heidi Northwood's got her hand up, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, John. Thanks for the assistant chairing, my friend. Heidi, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Just actually a question for, I'm not exactly sure who, whether it's for you, Aaron and team, or Councillor Utley. I noticed that the community consultation on Monday is entitled the Business Success Consultation. And I wondered why that was the title of it when the working group has a larger mandate than just business success, or at least that was my understanding.
Is there a member of staff that would like to reply to that?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'm going to defer that to a member of staff.
Yeah, I'll remind committee that committee members don't engage one another in discussion. We ask questions of staff. A committee member can chime in when that opportunity arises with a hand raise, okay? So staff, go ahead, please.
So with your permission, Chair McCurry, I may defer that question to Marlene or Maria, who have been more closely involved with setting that up. But I would agree with the committee member that there is a broader mandate there, but I think there might have been some rationale behind that naming and that approach. So I'll defer.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll suggest to members of the committee and members of staff that the staff member who believes they're most well suited to answer the question should just go ahead and answer instead of having multiple replies, okay?
Thanks very much, Chair McCreary. Through you to Ms. Northwood, thanks for the question. Understanding that there absolutely is a broader mandate, business success was the title that we ended up using because it was in the original terms of reference. It was what the original document that outlined the 3 themes of the task force at large. So it was just derived from there, and it's not exclusive to that.
Thanks, Bria. Anything further, Heidi, on that?
Thank you very much for the explanation. I'm not sure it conveys the right message to the community, the fact that it is more narrow than our mandate. But I mean, yeah, so I guess given that the invitations, as I understand it, go out through word of mouth, perhaps it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but it is a concern.
Yeah, understood. Through the chair, just to confirm, that invitation did not go to members of the public at large, only to that working group. Yeah, so that did not get published beyond that tighter group that is involved in the stakeholder session.
Heidi, you still have the floor.
Wow, cool. Thank you, Councillor.
Did you, Heidi, did you wish to try to amend that?
Sure. I think it would be helpful to actually have the name reflect our work. So if it weren't just business success, but business success and downtown vitality, I don't know exactly what I would. So perhaps I'm not amending it. I'm not good at that sort of thing on my feet, to be honest. But I do think that it would be helpful to have something that better reflects the work.
Okay. Thank you very much. So that idea has been raised, so members can give some thought as to whether that's something we want to do this afternoon. I'm going to, anyone can introduce an amendment after the speaking list has gone through the queue once, or after everybody's had an opportunity to speak once. So Heidi, if you want to come back to that, or another member wants to come back to that, we can do that. Just put your hand up. I'm going to go to Councillor Wall next. Joshua, go ahead, please.
Excellent. Thanks, Chairman Curry. I was just going to second that amendment for Heidi. And I think that, sorry, Dr. Northwood, and yeah, something just like, I'm sure we can come up with a clever title, but just prosperity maybe, or economic growth, prosperity and economic growth of the downtown, perhaps.
Okay, let me suggest that we think on that for a couple of minutes, and let's see now if we've got any other commentary on this particular item. I don't see any. And you'll excuse the chair if I'm less formal and I address you by your first names, because that's just kind of the way I know most of you. Heidi, you or Joshua are free to go ahead now and offer that amendment if you wish. It'll need to be moved and seconded, and then we'll have discussion.
Councillor McCreary, may I speak then?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I'm not used to the formality, so I apologize to the group. So I would like to make an amendment that we change the name from Business Success Consultation to Economic and Cultural Vitality Consult. Period.
Sorry, guys. Barbara, I'm going to ask you if your hand is up to second that. I see that's the case. So could the clerk repeat the amendment that's before us, if you captured that?
That the new name be Economic and Cultural Vitality Consult.
Thank you for that. Barbara, on the amendment, go ahead, please.
I just wanted to speak to the notification we received. Pardon me. The focus of the session will be to identify the top 3 business success opportunities in the city's downtown and potential actions that could be implemented to support these initiatives. That's the purpose of this group, apparently.
Thank you very much for that, Barbara. You still have the floor. Anything further?
Perhaps it'll be more clear when we do meet, because I'm a little confused by this myself.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
We're strictly on the amendment now, folks. Are there any other speakers to the amendment? And let me ask the clerk one more time to read that, and then we'll go to the vote on the amendment.
So I'm just getting a point of clarification from staff. Give me 1 second. Okay, so that the workshop be renamed the Economic and Cultural Vitality Consult.
Thank you, Mel. Okay, guys, on the amendment, raise your hand if you're in favor of the amendment. And that, okay, could you keep your hands up? It's, your pictures are all really small. Does the clerk have the vote count? That looks as though it's succeeded, I guess.
Yeah,
Would that be right, Mel?
It's carried. Yeah, it's carried.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. So now we have an amendment that we've ratified. Is there anything else on this particular portion of the report today? I see we have somebody named Brantford panelist who has a hand up, but I don't know who it is because there's no video. Perhaps it's an anomaly.
I apologize, Mr. Chair. It's Ken McNaughton.
Oh, hi, Ken. Sorry, it looked like you were having difficulty. Go ahead, please.
Yep. No, I'm having internet troubles. I'm just switching to my phone, so my hand is not really up.
Okay, but thanks for letting us know that. I don't see anything further on this item. Let me just now come back here and see where we're off to next. Are we on to, let me ask staff, which working group is up next in the queue?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Let's ask Susan Evenden and then Councillor Vanderstel to comment, please.
Fair enough. Thank you. Go ahead, folks.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Susan Evenden. I'm the Director of Family and Income Stability, and Councillor Vanderstelt and I have the pleasure of leading the Community Supports Working Group. And I would say that there's some good momentum with this group. They have had 2 full meetings. And just yesterday, we did have the specific consultation for the working group with the communications department for the stakeholders, that's the agencies that are participating in the working group. And there will also be consultations done with individuals with lived experience. And we have a small working group that is working to make any adaptations necessary to the questions so that we can get good data from that consultation, as well as we all know, the larger consultation for the community that's happening next Tuesday. The scope of the group, you really could go a number of places with this particular group, but what we are really focusing in on are individuals that are in the downtown core from a more marginalized population, to use that language, and really folks who may be exhibiting some behaviors that others are finding troubling or concerning or problematic, and how can the collected agencies that are already providing excellent services, how can we come together in a more effective way to provide support to those people in the moment, and also to help them move forward in their lives. So in order to do that, we have a number of meetings and activities that will be occurring over the next few months. So very much mirroring what my colleague Erin spoke about in their working group. There's an inventory that has already been completed of the services that are already in place. There will be an effort to more deeply understand the needs of the population that are, congregating in the downtown core, and then look at, is there a match or is there not a match between services, and where there isn't a match and gaps, what can be done about that? Certainly one of the challenges for our working group is that some of the services and funding streams are not within the local control of municipal services. Many are health related, and so coming through the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care, in some cases federal funding, and flowed through to local agencies such as the Health Unit, Grand River Community Health, the health system, and others. So we will take that information together with the information that comes forward from the community through the various consultations, and very much like the other working groups, we'll be working towards prioritizing that and bringing back to this task force for your consideration an action plan according to the timelines that have been established.
Thanks, Sue. Jan, did you want to jump in?
Sure, Dan. Thank you. If you want to be informal, I can do that. Thank you, Sue, for that comprehensive recount of what we've been going through. It was really encouraging to meet with all of those community leaders. The breakout sessions worked quite well. We have a strong and a long list of possibilities and options going forward, not just short, medium, but also long term. And we're discovering that in and of itself, yes, Brantford does have an issue that we have to deal with. That is correct. But there are many other comparator communities who have gone through this process and who have identified the needs that we are identifying in our process, and have also identified a path forward. And it's encouraging to see that there are some demonstrable results to what is happening in other communities. It's encouraging also to know that we, as a result of that, don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. We could probably take the best parts of what will work specifically for Brantford from other communities. And one of the significant, in my opinion, one of my arguments is that one of the short-term goals that we can attain in short order is actually to commit to a longer-term goal for all of the things that all of our groups are focusing on, to have them implemented in 2, 5, 10-year program, which will actually serve to better solve the problem long-term. So I know it seems like a little bit of a contradiction to have a long-term goal as a short-term goal, but the truth of the matter is, from what I'm hearing from the service agencies and from the individuals involved in frontline care, it is a long-term approach that we're going to have to take in order to solve this problem. And it was extremely encouraging to watch so many good ideas coming forward. And I look forward to working through that process in the next couple of months. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Jan. Any further speakers on this item, guys? There are a couple of things I might sort of jump in with. I couldn't be in attendance at the meeting. There are also a lot of communities that don't have the problems that we have, and I think we also need to consider the circumstances of those. And I've mentioned that to staff to do that kind of investigation as well. And I think when we're thinking about other questions that we're asking the folks in the community that we're caring for, I think we also want to ask those folks, if they're not from here, where'd they come from? And if they've come here, why'd they come here? I think there are some lessons that we need to learn in terms of how to care for what Sue called, I believe, marginalized individuals. But there are lessons that we need to learn as a community as well. Anything further on this item? Okay, so we'll now go to the third subcommittee, which I think is called Safety. Is that correct, Heidi? Ms. DeVries, I mean.
I was very excited to hear how many times you were calling on Heidi to speak, until I realized that was not me. But my name is Heidi DeVries. I'm the General Manager of People, Legislative Services, and Planning. And through you, Mr. Chair McCreary, it is the Safety and Security Working Group that I have the pleasure of co-chairing. I want to thank the task force for being here today, and each of you for taking an interest in our downtown and improving the downtown and allowing us as staff to work alongside you to do that good work. So just very briefly, our working group did meet. We actually met with a small cohort of the working group first, including Councillor Van Tilburg, myself, our General Manager of Community Services and Social Development, Marlene Miranda, as well as our Chief of Police, Rob Davis, and want to thank him for the time that he took to meet with us originally. And we met as a larger group to discuss, first of all, the terms of reference and to really try to scope our discussion around the idea of improving safety and security in our downtown core. And we then went through a roundtable regarding issues identification. So each of the stakeholders who appeared at that table shared a bit of their own either personal experiences or experiences that had been shared with them to identify issues that we are facing within the downtown core. And there were some common themes, both among, the student union, Laurier, the BIA, and business owners, as well as staff who are now working in our downtown core, regarding issues that we are starting to see: hostility, intimidation, garbage, so refuse lying around, theft, open drug use, and these themes were consistent among most of the stakeholders. We discussed those issues and then also moved into a brief discussion regarding an inventory of what security services we currently have in the downtown core. So that was led by the City of Brantford Supervisor of Security, Steve Ramnith. He's compiling a list of various security services, everything from Laurier's special constables to the police services we have in downtown, the city's own security patrol, the security at the casino. We have a number of different stakeholders who are already invested in securing their own property as well as public property through some of the services I've mentioned. And so we're looking to, as we've heard from the other working groups, create that inventory and then our next steps are to conduct a gap analysis to see where our gaps may be. And then also, as part of the gap analysis, look at better coordination amongst all those who are already providing services. What we're looking at is actually, we have quite a few services, but how do we coordinate them and how do we leverage this particular group in order to have that more open dialogue about how we can help one another with some of the issues that were identified. Also, next steps, we're looking at what some of the other BIAs and other municipalities have done. So this is the not reinventing the wheel approach, but basically looking to our counterparts in other municipalities who are facing similar issues, albeit not identical issues. What are some of the initiatives those BIAs or other municipalities or stakeholders have taken in order to address some of these situations? And then looking at, after our issues identification and our gap analysis, what's unique to Brantford? And how do we propose some unique solutions to this task force from the working group? So we're excited about that work. And we also want to thank Laurier for offering to share some of the important research and information that they've gathered through their own studies. And we look forward to reviewing that as stakeholders on the working group as well. There are some reports on, issue identification with respect to homelessness and experts who have already done this hard work. So we're looking forward to reading those. And one of the unique aspects of our working group is a discussion as well about the process and the role the court plays in all of these processes. So that is something that we're undertaking as part of the staff work, is to look at our judicial resources that are allocated to the city of Brantford and the county of Brant. We have a shared court system, whether or not that's actually sufficient and whether or not we as stakeholders, and I'm looking at the entire group, can play a part in the court process to advocate for our community for increased safety and security through the court process. So this is, again, maybe things like bail reform or victim impact statements, or the ability to hold people for longer rather than a catch and release approach, which I'm not saying they do, but if they did, what are the impacts of that approach and the judicial system on safety and security in our downtown core? So that's a very high level overview. Happy to take any questions.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I don't think we have Councillor Van Tilburg with us today, do we? I don't see him online.
I don't believe he could attend today.
Okay. Any comments, questions from the committee? Councillor Wall, go ahead, please.
Two questions. Was there any talk of Neighborhood Watch or the Citizens on Patrol program?
So through the chair to the councillor, that's a great question. I think it was briefly discussed. I can't quite recall if it was discussed. It certainly rolled around in my mind when we were having the discussion about a potential gap. We did have representatives from the student union, and also I believe it was a joint representative for the neighborhood association, and ways that the neighborhood associations can be involved in this process. I know that in a previous discussion with respect to a different neighborhood, we have looked at a neighborhood watch approach, and it certainly is one of the resources available in the city of Brantford to address situations like this where you involve the community. So I can add that to the list as a point for our working group to discuss when we meet next.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further discussion on this item, guys? Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you. Yes, we as a chamber interfaced with the City of Kitchener at their economic development and downtown business level, and at times in the past they struggled with similar issues that we're facing now. And we did have a little bit of discussion on some of the specific strategies. And if it's helpful to the committee or to the working groups, we're happy to either make introductions or share some of the things that were shared with us. It doesn't necessarily need to be in this forum, but I see my other chamber counterparts nodding along here. We're happy to, bring that connection.
Yeah, that would be most welcome, Paul. If you could share that with Ms. DeVries and chair of the subcommittee, Councillor Van Tilburg, that would be terrific. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll connect offline on that.
Any further discussion or questions, guys? Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Okay, I think that concludes the subcommittee reports for today. And now I have just lost my other screen, so I'm going to have to wing it somewhat. So I guess what we'll do now is we'll go to the question on item 5.1, which was the entirety of the report today. So let me see a show of hands for those who will vote in favor of accepting item 5.1. And I might add that that's as amended. So now we're going to move on to 5.2, which is the communication and engagement item for today's meeting. And Maria, would you like to take us through that, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair McCreary. Again, I'm Maria Visaki. I'm the Director of Communications and Community Engagement for the city. And me and my team are working on the engagement campaign to help inform the action plan that this task force ultimately develops, approves, and implements. The Let's Talk About Improving Our Downtown engagement campaign launched on October 7th. With media release and a project page that was developed dedicated to this initiative on the city's letstalkbrantford.ca engagement portal. The tools that are being used include a questions tool, a forum, as well as an online survey. To date, we've received well over 100 responses in just over a week. Which is a pretty robust response and on track to, based on previous campaigns, likely see a few more 100 responses. We've also seen a pretty fulsome response on our social media channels as well. So we are collecting all of those comments and we'll report that back in an analysis to this group. Additionally, we do have 3 stakeholder sessions. One has taken place already, as has been already mentioned earlier on in the meeting with the community services group. And if I could just take this opportunity to provide a little bit more context as to what the 2 working group sessions could expect to see on Monday. What we did was we divided the group into 2, and each staff lead helped facilitate the assignments that were given to each working group within the session as a whole. And the real focus of the session is to help with priority setting. This is a very large initiative in terms of scope and scale. It can feel overwhelming. And the purpose of this stakeholder sessions, these sessions specifically, is to help put it into more digestible actions and ideas over periods of time that can help inform the action plan. So as Sue and Marlene have already mentioned, this session yesterday was very, very productive. And I think it was productive because people came prepared with ideas, innovative ideas, innovative approaches that the city of Brantford has never implemented before. They came with ideas about comparator cities, cities that do have these challenges and cities that don't have these challenges. And then from that, as a larger group, we put them into categories of top 3 priorities for the short term, the medium term, and the long term. The short term was 3 to 6 months. The medium term was 6 months to a year, and longer term was 1 year to 4 years. And from that, we collected a lot of really insightful and I think you'll agree, informative information that will help us make decisions about how to go forward. And that will be the purpose of both the economic and cultural vitality consultation, as well as safety and security on Monday. Happy to take
Super.
any questions.
Thank you, Maria. Councillor Wall, I see you're first in the queue. Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much. Okay, so overwhelming is a great word. There's a lot, right? There's a lot of people who are opinionated about the downtown, and we want to hear what everybody has to say. So I do believe we're doing a great job of getting the message out, but I do want to ask a specific question that's been directed to me from numerous different avenues, and it is the opinions of seniors. And I just want to know, and maybe we could put an extra emphasis on it. So I try to learn as much as I can from people who are older and wiser than me. And there are many people in our community who remember when downtown Brantford was a more boisterous, vibrant place. And we have a really great different groups that represent seniors in our community. But we also operate the I can't remember the name is the facility in downtown Brantford.
The Beckett Center.
The Beckett Center. Thank you. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. But there's also, I'm just wondering if there's anything that we could do just a little better or maybe a little bit more before this public consultation part ends to get the opinions and the inputs from our senior community.
Thanks so much for the question, Councillor Wall, through Chair McCreary to the councillor. It's a very timely question. I had a long and really productive conversation with Lucy Marco yesterday about just this subject. Lucy Marco, for those who don't know, is the president of the Grand River Council on Aging, a very active member of our community, who represents the opinions of older adults and works very closely with the city to make sure that those opinions and their feedback is collected and included in really important initiatives like this one. And Lucy shared with me that that there still are a number of older adults who don't feel comfortable using technology. Even in the new era of this virtual world that many of us are used to now, there are still many people who get their news through the Brantford Expositor printed edition and who do not want to participate in a virtual town hall or don't want to go on the Let's Talk Brantford engagement portal and provide feedback that way. So what I had suggested to Lucy is that I would be happy to facilitate in-person focus groups with small numbers of people, if that was something that she and some of the representatives on the Council on Aging felt comfortable with. So we do plan to do that so that we can have that voice captured as part of this exercise. So that will happen as part of this campaign.
One more question, if I may, Chair McCreary.
Go ahead, my friend.
Thanks. Okay, I'm going to take it now right to the opposite scale, to children. So I can't even tell you how many young parents or parents in general, I've had tell me, and it's disheartening to say, but we're here to be truthful, that they don't feel comfortable bringing their kids downtown. And I hate that. I hate hearing that. And what I was wondering is if there was a way, or if you could articulate a little bit on how we're trying to find out from these parents what we could do better to make downtown a more engaging place and a place they would feel safe bringing their children.
Through the chair to the councillor, we have shared all of our promotional materials with our counterparts at the school boards to get further word out there that there is an opportunity for people to weigh in. I do think, though, that once there is a plan in place, that we should have a communication plan targeted specifically to parents to advise them of the actions that will be coming out of this plan and what they can expect to see in the short term, medium term, and long term as a result of implementing the plan. In terms of getting them engaged, we are seeing some of those comments from parents on our Facebook page. So I know people are weighing in that have children. And again, I think we should work with our contacts at the school boards who have a more direct channel to reach that audience.
Awesome. Thank you.
Councillor, thank you. Any other questions or comments, panel? Okay. So thank you, Maria, for that. The two sessions that we're holding on Tuesday next, is it our intention that we're required to do those remotely?
I got you. The sessions on Tuesday are actual virtual town halls, yes, and the public is asked to register to speak, to attend those, and anyone can watch the meeting proceedings on the city's YouTube channel. So there's one at 2 o'clock, and then there's another one at 6 o'clock. And we do have registrants that have already registered to speak at both meetings.
So have we sought leave to do those in person in the chamber?
Through you, no, we have not done that. We're consistent with the council's direction to do public meetings virtually for the month of October. And we wanted to get these meetings in this month. So that's why they're virtual.
Excellent. Thank you, Maria, for that. Okay, I don't see any other requests to speak, so we'll go to the vote on item 5.2, the communications item on our agenda. Let me ask you to raise your hand if you're in favor of supporting that. And that looks to me like it carries. So thank you, folks. Before I forget, I should tell you that Mayor Davis asked me to pass on his regrets today. He had another meeting that started at the same time, and he'll probably be going a ways with that one. He'd like to have been here, but simply hasn't mastered the art of being in two places at once yet. So now we have the minutes before us. Is there anyone who would like to raise a correction on the minutes? Okay, and I'll remind you that everything was moved and seconded at the outset. So we'll go to the vote then on the minutes. Could I see a show of hands of those who are in favor of adopting the minutes? And we'll say that carried. And we're now at an end today. We don't have resolutions. We don't have any notices of motion. Let me once again thank everybody for participating and giving us your best effort on this item. And we'll adjourn now, and staff will have distributed invitations, I believe, to the virtual sessions on Tuesday. And hopefully everybody can take a chance to come out and see what the public has to say about this. So again, thank you for being here today, and have a pleasant rest of the day.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.